Today, we're going to check out something pretty cool. This is going to be the Hall of Presidents. Today, we're back at Historic Auto Attractions Museum in Roscoe, Illinois, and I've shown you quite a few things from this location before, and I'm going to take you and show you the Hall of Presidents today, but there's several different videos that I want to do from here and different things I want to show you from this location that I haven't necessarily shown you before. But let's go take a look. The exhibit begins right here in the East Wing. And the first thing that you notice right here is a carriage. Right here, this is an 1865 Studebaker Landau carriage that was owned and used by President Ulysses S. Grant. That is really neat. And over here is the famous Hall of Presidents. Now these are all wax figures. Some of them are a little bit better than others, but there is a wax figure for just about every president here. Here's the Joe Biden, which is probably the most lifelike of any of these. I was told that this was a lot more of a modern process and a lot more of an expensive wax figure. There's the Donald. I know some people love him, some people hate him. I'm not here to judge. I'm just here to show you the wax presidents. There's George W. Obama back there in the corner, next to Slick Willie. We have George Bush Sr. here. Reagan back there. Jimmy Carter. He looks a little creepy in this one. Got Gerald Ford back there. LBJ. Richard Nixon. Now, how many of these would you recognize if I wasn't telling you? I would think most of you would probably know a majority of these. If you couldn't tell, it's just because some of these are a little bit off. Got Ike back there, Dwight Eisenhower, Truman, FDR back there, Herbert Hoover, a man kind of largely forgotten by history. Got President Grant and General Grant back there, Washington, Honest Abe, and Andrew Jackson. The Hall of Wax Presidents. Now there are world leaders over here, and there's some other interesting things over here. Since we're in here, I might as well show you, just in case you haven't seen these in a couple of previous videos. Now this over here might not look like much, but this was President McKinley's wife, Ida's personal sleigh from the late 1800s. Doesn't look like it's anything to write home about. But back then, this would be pretty stylish to have. Attach a couple horses to it, off you go. And speaking of McKinley, this was McKinley's hearse carriage right here that was part of his funeral in 1901. There are videos online of this in the funeral procession, which is pretty cool that this still exists. It's just amazing to be able to see history like this. Look how ornate this is. And right inside there would have held the casket of President McKinley after he was assassinated. Try to let you see in there a little bit. I mean, back then people lined the streets to be able to see this go by. There's President McKinley right there. Just fascinating stuff here. And they have presidential limos going back to, they have Coolidge, they have Hoover, FDR, but this is Trump's limo. It's a 2008 Lincoln Town Car limo. It's a picture of him getting out of that one. He used this during his first presidential run in 2016. Over here is Richard Nixon's 1969 Lincoln Lehman Peterson limousine. Said it was used in New York City by the Nixon administration. And Turkey Dick is still in the back seat. I'll let you see the inside. Pretty interesting to be able to see this kind of stuff. And this right here, this is Hoover's limousine. It's a 1932 Cadillac 452B V16 Imperial limousine. Now without the presidential tie-in, this is still pretty cool. An old car in very good shape. President Hoover would have been sitting in the back there. Certainly not one of our best presidents we ever had. Over here we have Lyndon Johnson's presidential limousine, a 1965 Lincoln Continental. Now you might ask yourself how they got so many of these presidential limousines. There was a car museum years back in, I think it was Imperial Palace in Vegas that had a car museum. They went under, and the museum here purchased those limousines. So that's where a lot of these came from. Here's Eisenhower's 1962 Cadillac Fleetwood. As you probably know from seeing my channel if you've been around for a while, I'm kind of obsessed with presidential history. So this is really cool. Ronald Reagan's 83 Cadillac Fleetwood. This thing looks a little bit like a brick. But you could definitely picture Reagan in the back of this. It's just amazing history. Gangsterland. I've shown you that a couple of times, and I'll show you some things in there again at some point coming up. Here's Nixon's Chrysler limousine.
As Jerry Ford stepped into the White House, he walked into a house of turmoil. Ford faced the still pending criminal indictment of Nixon, an America which felt betrayed by Washington.
And it's not even just cars. There's a lot of presidential artifacts here. Like this is an American Eagle made from crushed pecans. Came from the Jimmy Carter Library. And Rosalind Carter's dress. But they have everything from cufflinks to M&M boxes to awards from presidents, things from Air Force One. There's a pen that Lyndon Johnson used to sign the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. There's President Johnson's glasses, LBJ. Sorry for the reflection there. And one of LBJ's hats. Now we saved the best for last. These are two of my favorite cars in this collection. This right here belonged to Calvin Coolidge. This was a 1923 Lincoln Model L. It's a 5-passenger sedan. And this was one that was bought by Coolidge a while back, obviously, but before he was president. And this was entered into the official White House fleet of automobiles. Now it kind of makes you wonder what something like this would be worth from a historic standpoint, but even take that away, just the fact that this is a 1923 car in the kind of condition that it's in, you know, that would be a pretty stylish ride for anybody. Yep, delivered to then Vice President Coolidge, May of 1923 in D.C. The official White House motor pool. It is just very, very cool. And that brings me to my favorite car here. This was from FDR. It says police do not pass. And going over here, here's a picture of it. Let you see the inside here. And the most interesting thing to me is in the back seat here. FDR would have sat right back in this seat. And over here they have a telephone kind of in the center of the screen. And right here they have a weapon because Secret Service and various forms of protection would be in here. Things are quite a bit different now with the motorcades, but pretty interesting. Now this by far is probably one of my favorite exhibits here, but I will show you a lot more from this museum. A lot of the other exhibits, some of the things that I've already shown you have been updated since, so I will bring you a few more videos from here in the coming months. But that's all I have for today, so thanks for joining, and we'll catch you on the next video. Take care, everybody.